So, after dealing with the Merc with a mouth in the Ultimate Universe, let's go back to the 2099 universe to see, well, what is a familiar face for that particular universe, but a bit of a different version of the existing Spider-Man villain.
Figures.
Does Marvel have its own version of Green Lantern? Yeah, he can create anything he wants and stuff like that.
Yes,
Yes.
a couple of them actually.
I mean, if
hold
you
on.
count Sandman,
And
he
there you
could
go, it's
actually
Scorpion, but in this case, he's actually a literal mutant Scorpion, in a sense that he was a person who mutated into an anthropomorphic gigantic Scorpion. This person called Krom Stone.
Well, to be expected.
I mean, hey, it makes sense, you know? Alchemax tend to mess with people genetically.
Yeah, it's always the fucking Alchemax. Let me check.
Okay, wait till we get to Edge of Time and see what they did with Felicia Hardesky in that one.
Anyway, this is unfortunately one of those other levels which I honestly think drags a bit too much.
That seems
because,
to be really
well, hold on,
2099's
hold on.
problem.
You don't do too much stuff in this level outside of combat, of fighting. In a sense that, yes, you need to chase a Scorpion along the level, but he constantly sends his minions, and you have to fight a lot of time the public eye at the same time. So you're pretty much stuck in combat 9 times out of 10.
You kind of have to wonder, but Scorpion just came in on his own lonesome, but now suddenly he has goons on him without even using the stone.
Actually, he's about to, because...
I know he's about to, but he hasn't yet.
Yeah. In this case, the public eye is just doing its own police thing.
Fuck the police.
Pretty much.
Don't worry though, they'll all survive this.
Pretty much. Remember, much like in the tutorial said, Madame Web automatically saves anyone who gets tossed over a bottomless pit. So there's that.
Nice of her. Because Spider-Man does not kill, yo.
Yeah, alright. Oh, there you go. So the character, I might as well get in the by already. The original character of Scorpion, basically McGargan, was created in 1964 by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. So once again, a character created specifically to be the nemesis of Spider-Man. Originally, he was a detective engaged by J. Jonah Jameson to basically snuff out and managing to uncover Spider-Man. And possibly expose him to the public so that J. Jonah Jameson can have his revenge. In order to do so, he does a special suit that J. Jonah Jameson actually purchased, or I forgot, Joe, I mean this one, like it purchased somewhere else.
Okay.
I forgot.
Basically, it's another company that makes it. In some versions, of course, Smythe is involved often.
Oh, okay, this one.
Oh, that's another whole bout of eggs with the Smythe, but yeah.
Yeah, basically one of the effects of the stone is making Scorpion laying acid eggs. But anyway, yeah, due to an accident in one of the first runs, McGargan accidentally gets fused with the suit, so it's stuck in that form and he assumes the identity of Scorpion, obviously.
Which is a natural enemy of spiders.
Yes. And after that he starts stalking Spider-Man out of mere revenge. And blaming him responsibly for what happened to his life.
And then there are the cases where he blames J. Jonah Jameson and then Spidey has to save JJ's butt.
Then a lot of shit. Oh, we're about to get it. Basically, the Hex hatch, and actually they create the minions of this case, other than the public domain. Mini Scorpions that you have to fight. They're not too much of a hassle, especially because thanks to the eggs, you can one-hit kill anything that they come in contact with. But there's the thing, there are just so many of them. And coupled with the public eye, it makes fighting kind of a chore, because there's a fuck ton of enemies. A lot of the time you can't progress until the room is freed, so yeah, there's that.
Hey,
also,
please.
to help you, there are some canister of liquid nitrogen that explodes on contact, so there's that. Anyway, like I was saying, Unfortunately, after a while, Marvel decided that Scorpion just being that wasn't enough, so they decided to make him fuse with the Venom symbiote. At first, this created a hybrid, in a sense that he was still McGargan in his suit, but he had some special enhancement given by the symbiote, which was interesting. It was also a period of time where Peter tried to quit being Spider-Man for like what, the 100th time at that
And when
point.
Eddie Brock quit being Venom, but then went on to be anti-Venom.
True. Well, this was a bit before that, Jova, because back then, again, Scorpion was having the symbiote, but it was integrated with his armor. After a while, the symbiote fully consumed him, making him the official new Venom. This was later used for some major story arcs like Dark Reign, where due to a lot of different weird shit that happened in other events that I'm not gonna bother explaining for the sake of time, Norman Osborn became the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and de facto, and pretty much in fact, the most powerful man in the entire America.
Which
And
we have
basically
Civil
for
War to
his own
thank
dark-
for.
Well, he became the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and he formed his own Dark Avengers.
Oh yeah, he was Iron Patriot.
Yeah, and McGargan was one of them, using a special drug that granted him an appearance similar to the one of Peter, so basically masquerading to the public as Spider-Man.
The only Scorpion I know a whole lot about is the one from the 2000 Spider-Man game.
It's it's actually the one for PS1.
He shows up again
Yeah.
for Spider-Man 3.
That's the one that I was describing before, with the one with the symbiote attached to it. Basically, it's the green armor, but with some black enhancement spikes, because again.
And also on the cutscene where Jonas trying to talk Gargan out of it. I love how in 1 minute he's like, "Don't worry, there's new tech. We can get you out of the suit." But then when he's being attacked, it's like, "Gargan, get over it." And so there's no new technology for the suits.
But anyway,
I'm pretty sure a guy can get over being stuck in a bulky, heavy suit.
To be
Although
fair,
to be fair, having a sharp tail for a weapon sounds awesome.
to be fair,
Well,
J.
yeah,
Jonah
that's one
Jameson's
of the
not quite the
advantages.
best therapist in the room.
yeah.
Matt G.
Jonas
Just,
J.
Jason is a consultant, yeah.
You need to, why are you being so sad about? You should start acting like a normal person, like every other. Come on, look at
Bring pictures of
Look at-
Spider-Man.
look at me. Look at me. I've been attacked by the Green Goblin and I'm still here. Why are you being so sad about, Matt G?
My wife died, sir.
Ah, it's life.
Anyway,
Give it
People
time,
die.
J. Jonah Jameson. Let's see how you deal with your wife. Oh yeah, and also your adopted daughter dying.
that's
And then-
kind of worse.
And then your dead wife coming back from the dead because we have to have another fucking clone saga.
Because of
Yeah.
course we need Jova. That fucking thing will never end for some reason.
Like seriously, how?
I got it, guys. That'll be the plot of the second Marvel/Sony Spider-Man film.
The Clone
God
Saga.
help.
no.
Well, okay, maybe they could.
Turn Civil War into a decent story. I'm actually expecting if we do some stuff like similar to the Clone Saga, they can actually pull it off.
Maybe.
I'd rather them just keep that dead and the.
Yeah, but I agree
I'd
with
rather they
Pedro.
do it too, but hey, maybe. Okay, if anyone could do a good Clone Saga movie, it would have to be the MCU.
There's so much better source material to draw from. Why that?
Well, Pedro, everyone was wondering the same thing with Civil War.
True, but at the same time, but here's the big thing, Jova. Civil War was a plot with high potential that got destroyed because, well, shit execution. The Clone Saga is just terrible from the concept stage, as far as I'm concerned. I never liked the idea to begin with.
I mean, the Clone Saga had good
very first
ideas as
original
well.
Story for the Silver Age was fine for the time it was released.
Well, I'm talking about the 90s one, though.
No, I know.
Well,
I said
Pedro,
it was
Pedro.
from
Here's the
start,
thing.
mentioned.
Here's the thing, Pedro. The 90s thing you're thinking of, that is actually part of the same Clone Saga. It ran for that long.
Starting in the
That-
60s.
that-
Again,
that's the thing. Aside from what Linkara said in his videos, I'm not really familiar with the original Clone Saga. I'm only familiar with the stuff in the
It was
90s.
actually very simple and silly in true Silver Age tradition, and it's similar to the DC stories of the Silver Age. You accept them because you're a special disbelief because of how unnatural and silly, despite maybe even though there are a lot of weird shit like Batman becoming a toddler for no reason.
The fact is, like, well, they still did nice and keen things with them. The problem with the Clone Saga was, like, well, it got dragged.
Now this is an escort mission because we need to protect the scientists while we try open the door.
Oh, good.
It's not
Just-
pleasant, especially in our mode. But
Not just that, but again, the whole reason Stan Lee created Spider-Man to begin with is because he wanted the whole point was to be a superhero that teenagers could identify with. So by the time I got to the Clone Saga in the 90s, remember when this? Yeah, because we all know all teenagers can relate to having multiple clones of themselves.
To be
Right?
fair, wasn't he an adult at that point?
True, but I
and
don't know.
again, what he said, the important realization that he mentioned is one more day review. The fact that amongst the years, the reader changed, but Spider-Man really didn't.
Yeah, he looks like a. And Peter looked like an adult in the 90s cartoon.
Well, yeah, that was the idea.
Well, that was more so because of the art style that.
Yeah, and also it also that those things are set in their own continuity, like even like taking inspiration from stories from the comic book and everything, they count as their own continuity. In the
He looks
books,
like
it's another story.
He looks like He looks like an adult to Ibs, but he's still going to college. So, from the writer's standpoint, he's still a teenager. But to whoever chose the art style for that cartoon,
Okay. To be fair,
Wasn't it the same studio that made the X-Men cartoon?
it
okay.
was, which is weird.
To be fair, usually associate adults more with college than teenagers. Teenagers get associated more with high school. So it makes sense that he would be an adult and going to college. Not to mention the
Yeah,
fact
but
that
that's
he.
the thing, Joe.
Hold on, let me
that cartoon
finish.
looks like he's fucking 30.
Hold on, let me finish. Not to mention the fact that he does also get married in that cartoon. So, I mean, I guess we are seeing more his adulthood there.
I guess.
And hey, at least he's not looking overly too young. Which is kind of the other extreme.
Well, was there ever a Spider-Man incarnation or series that where he was looked too young?
Yes, the manga verse, definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
Like,
Basically,
seriously.
in case you wondered with the Shiroi, there is actually a manga verse of Marvel. Basically, Marvel gave Japan some rights to do their own continuity in the form of mangas. Now, for the most part, it's not too bad, but when you get weird cases like Gambit look way too be shonen. Oh, it's so good. I'll bring a picture because I actually saved it for satire.
And then there were the animes. Good lord, the animes.
Oh god.
Forget that. The live action Spider-Man is still the
You
greatest.
wanna talk about the Beyblade clone anime of the Avengers?
Yeah.
We all know that the best Japanese Spider-Man property is the live-action show.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yay! Wow!
Okay, I will give him this though. The Iron Man anime turned out to be good. Shame about the movie though, it sucked. But the Iron Man anime turned out to be
Rise
good.
of the Technovore or was...
Yes, Rise of the Technovore, the movie, one of the worst ever things to be associated with Marvel. It's
Of course.
like, okay, remember to you, it gives top billing to the Punisher, who only shows up for like 13 minutes of the movie.
Of course.
I've seen plenty of things.
It's Wolverine
Well, like the
publicity at its worst.
One of the main star actors /
Hold on.
characters.
Now we actually need to fight the Scorpion, and basically it's a stick of, oh, you don't know what they did to me, I'm a beast. I forgot who voices him, let me check. John Cassier.
Angry Howl.
Yes. Someone at Alchemax, a female doctor actually promised him to cure him if he brings the fragment. I wonder.
I got it. Was it that doctor who for some reason was a bloke in Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Doctor. No, Dwiz, that would be stupid if it was
Dr.
Kafka. Basically, Tio, they made Kafka. Okay, Tio, you know how Kafka is actually a caring doctor who tries to help her patients in the comics?
Yeah.
Well, in Amazing Spider-Man 2, they made her into a man, a stereotypical German who tortures and experiments on his patients.
Because
Because-
of
Specifically
course.
Electro.
Because that's what they were lacking, a German scientist.
Although
Like,
to be fair,
okay.
to be fair, it was so hammy it was actually kind of hilarious.
Yeah, but it's really
Anyway,
stupid
this first fight with
adaptation-wise.
Scorpion is actually pretty nice. You need to throw the exit into throwing off balance, then actually attacking me while dodging his tail wipe. So there is some minor strategy to it. Especially compared to the previous fight with the Hobgoblin, where it was just chase him and then keep hitting the same targets over and over.
Yeah.
Anyway, for the sake of this version of Scorpion, Krom Stone, actually was like a rich boy, I think, a rich, basically a rich property of not Alchemax, but another major company, 2099 future. That I forgot what specific accident he became this mutated being, and ever since tried to cope, well, not cope, but tried to revert back his condition, but ultimately failed and was stopped by Miguel. There you go. Yeah. Now they decided to bring him back, might as well, because again, he is technically the only major recurring character from already the comics. The other two, well, Hobgoblin and the one from the third level, are completely made up, even though the third one takes some inspiration from a classic counterpart, but all in due time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jova, don't worry, we'll get to that. Also, let me check one thing, because, for example, as I mentioned, there was a Nintendo DS version of this, but they actually changed something. For example, in 2099, the 2099 version, levels of the DS version, for some reason they replaced, I forgot who, with Silvermane, another. Oh. Jesus.
Yuck.
Yelps of pain.
I'm gonna make him pay for that.
And Spider-Man is dead. Thoughts?
Well, if it's not in, yeah. Ah, there you go. What
suck
adventures
this.
You know. I read a comic book where
Yes.
I actually read a Spider-Man comic where this happened. He fell from a great height and wasn't able to use his rope. Wasn't able to use his web. He broke his arm, or at least sprained it.
Well, yeah,
He didn't
because
break it here because.
Well, to be fair to him, he didn't
Depends.
fall from a great distance. He got tossed through a wall. Also,
not just that,
this is
remember,
2099.
the
He kind of
powers
has special
the powers
armor
of
for
Miguel
it.
are a bit different from the one of Peter.
I think I'm about to have visitors.
It'd be funny, if like one of the if Spider-Man tried to swing from the rope, but misjudged a height and fell and died. Like have any of you seen the other guys?
You asked for it.
What?
It's that
Is
movie
that a
with
movie?
it's a movie with Mark Wahlberg and the other comedy guys whose name I've forgotten.
Never heard of it.
Basically, there's a scene where The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson are two ultra popular badass cops who are chasing this group of thieves across New York. The thieves abseil from the roof and cut the rope so that they can't get down. So The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson decide to aim for the bushes that aren't really there and jump and hope they stick the landing. They don't,
They don't,
they die, and we cut to funerals. Trust me, it's funny when you see it in context of the movie.
I guess, yeah. But no, that's the thing. Besides this, I thought you would have used, for example, what happened in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie.
Well, to be honest, I can't really think of a scene where he misjudges heights.
Well, kind of what happens with Gwen Stacy. Spider-Man kind
No,
of.
I meant like the comedic effect, not like his girlfriend dying.
Well, because I never really. I'm sorry for.
Yeah,
all the
okay,
fans
Dwibs,
there,
I'm
but
sorry.
I never really cared too much of Gwen Stacy.
I'm sorry,
if I had to
Dwibs.
be
You're gonna tell me that the web turning
You mean
into
in
a hand.
comics or movies?
Hold on. Let me finish.
General.
Dwibs, you're gonna tell me that the web turning into a hand wasn't comedic. Ah,
Honestly, I got more of a...
symbolism, but the clock is running out. It's ticking. Bong, bong. Let me reach out to you with my web hand.
Big Red Drummer when you actually managed to
get me
be
wrong.
the guest in that
Don't-
movie.
Don't get me wrong, it's hilarious. Although, to be honest, out of the whole climax, my favourite part was when Electro is somehow able to play Itsy Bitsy Spider using power towers.
Also, don't worry, Tia. We'll invite you in for the generations of those movies.
Sure, might as
Also,
well.
that was ridiculous.
When it comes to the when it comes
It
to
was
the
funny,
movie,
funny though.
Yeah.
It
Yes,
was
Pedro?
when it, I can understand that.
Yes, you're ridiculous. A guy who uses spider webs swinging around and be able to climb walls and everything, that's fine. But a guy playing musical instruments with power poles, that's way too far.
It depends on how
When
it's
it, comes,
executed.
when it comes to the movies, I'll still take at the very least the fact that Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy can actually, you know, do something and contribute to the fucking plot instead of. Whereas I'm sorry, I cannot stand Mary Jane's characterization in the Sam Raimi trilogy. I absolutely hate Mary Jane in those movies.
Fair enough. Although I'm still gonna go with the general consensus, though. The Spider-Man I like in live action are Tobey Maguire's and Tom Holland's. Whereas Amazing Spider-Man will just be remembered as a duology that, it had Emma Stone, who was great as Gwen Stacy, but that's really what it's got. Like, the first Amazing Spider-Man was just, like, the Lizard was so obviously a warm-up villain who didn't really get to see his full potential and really didn't have that good design.
The Sam Raimi trilogy kinda hinted at it, so
Yeah.
they kinda needed someone to feel that.
And then there was Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was...
To be fair, like I still think Andrew Garfield could have pulled off a good enough Spider-Man if it was given better material to work
I
with.
mean, the
honestly.
problem with
Also,
Andrew
for-
Garfield is like...
I can see him working in the role if he was given better
Also, story
scripts.
poster.
The problem with Andrew Garfield is like, well, he ended up playing more of a jock than Peter Parker,
Yeah,
to be
that's
quite
the big
honest.
problem right there.
Oh, you know,
Yeah.
you know what's sad though? You know what's sad though? It's like, well, originally Spider-Man was supposed to be in the Avengers universe earlier. Like, well, remember how the Oscorp building from Amazing Spider-Man was supposed to show up in Avengers, but they couldn't get it in time. So when you think about it, had they gotten that one effect in time, we might have actually gotten Andrew Garfield in the MCU over, say, Tom Holland.
One other thing, going off what Pedro said. Pedro mentioned the love interest being better in the Amazing Spider-Man films than the Raimi films. I know I've mentioned this before, but I don't think I mentioned it here, or maybe not on commentary. In terms of like the actual production of the films, I think Mark Webb's a better director than Sam Raimi, to be honest, especially during the action scenes.
True.
The big problem with Sam Raimi's action scenes that they've aged really, they have fats aged badly in a lot of
Yeah,
places.
and hell, even the
It worked
web,
for the Evil Dead movies, but not for these.
there are a couple of good web slinging scenes in the Raimi films, but there's only a couple of them. The rest you can tell is the green screen's so fucking awful. It's obvious he's just swinging on a green screen. Whereas with Mark Webb at least tries different angles and he actually does feel like he's swinging along with Spidey, not just watching him swing.
I'll give Raimi credit though, considering the days that those movies were made, it makes sense effects-wise.
Plus Spider-Man. Plus, I think the best web swinging he did was aside from the green screen ones. we're in Spider-Man 3, funnily enough.
Yeah, I know. It's like, well, again, I'll give Raimi credit. Those were the effects that he had to work with back in the day. Mark Webb had the obvious advantage of better effects. Like, honestly, I'd be more...
giving a shitload of money for the project.
Yeah, because they wanted to franchise it. Yeah, look how well that turned out.
Well, yeah, at least, although I will give Sony credit for one thing. Unlike Fox with Four Stick, Sony at least tried.
True. I will actually agree with that.
True. Amazing Spider-Man 2 had a truckload of problems, and it's quite honestly the worst Spider-Man movie we've ever gotten. But it still had more fun to it. Yeah.
Fan Four Stick did not even have a soul.
Fan Four Stick was just misery piled upon misery.
I was just glad Michael Jordan was able to get something better out of the whole thing.
Please remember Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan.
Well, I know it's annoying, but it kind of needs to be punctured because a lot of times you think, wait, Michael Jordan is Space Jam?
Michael Jordan's a great actor now? Cool!
Other Michael Jordan.
Oh, right, the one who was in Creed.
And Fruitvale Station, which I haven't seen.
And Black Panther, of course.
Hey, they also got that guy from Gods of Egypt to be in Black Panther too.
It seems
yeah.
like he's Ryan Coogler's go-to actor. It's like.
Hey, by the way,
Yeah.
speaking
one thing that's
of,
funny about one thing that's funny about Chadwick Boseman,
What?
depending on where you live, you either saw Chadwick Boseman in Gods of Egypt before Civil War or after Civil War. Here in the UK, we got Gods of Egypt after Civil War, and if you didn't see Civil War beforehand, you would have thought Chadwick Boseman was a pretty mediocre actor who does a pretty bad British accent.
Dwibs. You see, that's the problem right there, Dwibs. You
never
need to
judge
stop
one
judging.
actor based off of
you
one
need-
movie. It's a bad
you need to
habit.
stop. You need to stop
I'm
judging
not-
an actor based on just your first performance that you see.
I'm not judging. I'm just giving an
Actually,
example.
Dwibs, that's what you did with Miles Teller for a long time until I showed you in Jova Whiplash to demonstrate how he could actually act well if he was given a script that didn't came out of a donkey's anus.
To be fair with
I don't-
me,
I don't know.
okay.
I mean,
To be fair with me on Miles Teller, though, I'd seen him in other things too that did not have my feelings about him. It was until I saw him in Whiplash that I thought he could actually do good.
Plus in Fantastic, most of the other performances in that film, again, given the script and the direction they had to work with, most of the performances were fine for the most part. The biggest problem was Teller's.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
there is such a thing as even having bad material doesn't excuse you from a shitty performance.
Well, the thing
And
is,
not
there's
to
not every
mention,
actor
given
is
what we
capable.
To be
No, that
fair,
is
what
the
we
thing.
know about the behind-the-scenes stuff, I would not be surprised if Miles Teller was not giving it his all on purpose, considering how god-awful the
yes.
behind-the-scenes stuff was.
It's
so,
not to mention
I
that
definitely
not
see-
every,
All the arguing and all the antics that the director was doing.
not to mention there's the ability to withstand horrible environment and script varies from actor to actor.
Alright, time for the final confrontation with Scorpion. By the way, this like a production value, I guess. First, we're fighting on the roof, along with some public eye agent.
these police
We're in
have some
space.
messed up
No, we're on
priorities.
top of one building, I forgot which one specifically. Basically, what Scorpion is gonna do is occasionally he will just start slamming the ground in order to knock out all the agents that are there. The problem is, the roof is made of glass or like solid plexiglass, whatever. Some fragile substance. So after freeze max, the roof will broke and we'll actually have the next phase. Basically, for now we just need to once again endure, which again is pretty much the problem of the entire level. The fact that you're just enduring
Endurance
and
rounds.
doing some minor stuff like rescuing some civilians, but otherwise this level is pretty forgettable, especially because Spider-Man doesn't have a lot of banter with Scorpion, which kind of detracts a bit. One of the major stuff that makes the level good is the current Spider-Man of that level bantering with the villain of that level in order to, for chemistry, for relatable purposes. Here, the interaction with Miguel with Scorpion are very minimal, so
Yeah.
just doesn't work too much.
Yeah, that's the thing. In this game, it seems like Spider-Man 2099 is the one who gets,
Gets the short
hit
side, true. Well, if I had to be blunt, that's also what's gonna happen with Ultimate Spider-Man for his third level. But I would
To
say
be
that
fair,
in
though,
that
I think
case,
the tone
the
of it
song-
kind of calls for
yeah,
it.
the setting and the tone of that level actually compensate for that. Here, it's not conveyed as they wanted to. The final stretch that we just saw, where Spider-Man is on the elevator, running up and sees all the public eye converging on the roof, actually was a kind of a good step in that direction, but it just doesn't work enough, honestly. Anyway, one more slam and we're down. I forgot
Can I
to...
ask you a question? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, go ahead, Pedro.
So, I thought I heard you ask, so I'll answer you. Whiplash is a movie starring both Miles Teller
No, I
and...
know that. What I asked
okay,
was,
sorry.
did Miles Teller also starred... What are the major movies that Miles Teller actually starred in?
He also starred recently in a war movie that got a lot of good press, so but I haven't seen it. But it seems like he was also really good in it as
Oh,
well.
no. Shock!
So now
okay.
we're having a free fall section in reverse because we're now seeing Spider-Man. The good thing is that you're not having obstacles coming in front of you, but rather from behind you, and you need to position yourself. So it actually kind of works, thankfully. Well, most of the time anyway. Also the frame rate, Jesus man.
To give you an example, Dwebs, when it comes to somehow making a shitty production, something, look, not everybody can be Mark Wahlberg, sadly.
This is where you were.
Or Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
So apparently, Scorpion's hideout has been
The Stark
within.
Enterprise, yes, of 2099. So here's an interesting thing. Scorpion now, hold on. Oh,
Who is she, Kron? Who put you up to
I
this?
wonder. And yellow.
Oh yeah.
Is there a female Electro?
No.
No, we just face it.
I wonder,
Yes.
does she have purple?
Shiny arms.
Does she have purple hair to boot with that? And a hairdo that would get you kicked out of the
Food for thought
60s?
for another time. Let me see just foreshadowing for now. Now, interesting stuff. Scorpion will fight on 2 levels, in a sense of 2 levels vertically. Both the basement here and the upper floor. What you need to do is also by depleting his health to lower, well, kind of force him to release his egg particularly, and having to wait for him to dangle upon what's up there. Basically, during the fall, one of the public eye major transport actually managed to get tangled in the middle of the arena, kind of like it's right up where we are right now. The goal of Spider-Man will actually have to be throwing one of the Scorpion's eggs to the car in order to make it fall and cause a chain reaction explosion, basically. Now you will be forced up on the upper floor because occasionally then Scorpion will throw some acid bomb on the lower level, which create a toxic cloud that makes you impossible to be there, and then will bring the fight on the upper level. But honestly, this only works in our advantage, so might as well you can go there. Again, the boss fighting itself is actually quite fine in terms of variety. It's just that what's around the level just doesn't properly work. Should have been developed a bit better, honestly.
It seems like the primary problem with this game is the pacing. A lot of times the levels drag. Like the pacing seems really off in this game.
It's like,
Have you
well,
seen
it's
Dark
like,
Lord Jaddo's review of it, Pedro?
Not yet, but I
He
guess I
reviewed
might
the
as
Wii
well.
version and didn't really like it. But to be fair, he lacked a lot of research when reviewing that game.
here's
Sadly.
the deal with this game. It's like when the pacing is good, the game's really fun. It's just you have some issues like the Sandman level or
one.
this level where sadly they tend to drag a bit too much. But then you have actually pretty fun levels like, you know, again, the Deadpool level,
I
the
would say
noir
the
levels.
in general.
The noir levels are definitely always going to be the best, I'd say, overall. Ultimate definitely has some fun. And amazing.
Sorry. Shiroi, what was it?
I just said they've been the most memorable to me so far, anyway.
The noir ones or the Deadpool
Yeah.
one?
Noir.
The noir one. Well, again, Joe, like I mentioned, the Deadpool level was fun as it was on its own, but when you actually want to talk about on a pure, pure game standpoint, it can be a nightmare.
What salvages the Deadpool one is again, practically everything else, and it can be fun if you're not trying to 100% complete it.
And again, a game like this, especially based around comic books, attract mostly people who are interested for the comic book factors, for characters and plot. Not so much necessary for the gameplay. Not to say that it shouldn't be an important bit of it, but I can imagine why a lot of people would not care for 100% completing.
I will
that,
say also, this game kind of suffers from that syndrome where, like, well, this is a game where you'll probably enjoy, like, the first playthrough of it, but it's not a game you may come back to that often.
True, I can tell you that if you wanna try replaying the levels on hard mode and everything, it's gonna be quite a ride.
Yeah.
Anyway, one more hit from the acid bomb and the car should drop anyway. Well, Pedro, you were mentioning what else did Miles Teller start in? I forgot.
A war movie let me just double check.
Sure.
That got quite a lot of good reviews as well. It seems like it's really good, and he was really good in it. So there's that. So basically, basically all of the victims of Fanfortec managed to turn their careers around. Fortunately.
Good enough. I guess.
What are you gonna say? That I said the victims of Fanfortec for a second there.
That's what I
Well,
said.
technically they are.
That's what I said.
Oh, by the way, on the theme of actors getting salvaged from bad superhero films,
Yes.
Lawrence Fishburne is gonna be an Ant-Man and the Wasp. Lawrence Fishburne, who was Silver Surfer in
Which means-
Fantastic Four 2.
And
Which
he was
means, of
and he
course-
was Perry White in the DCU.
Yeah. So basically, it's yet another.
So Marvel have done it again. They've got another famous A-list actor added to the MCU. Like, Jesus Christ.
Specifically one that was in bad comic movies previously. Watch as eventually Halle Berry will join the Marvel Cinematic Universe as what female character
Storm?
could she be?
Storm again, might as well.
Well, Halle Berry at least was in the X-Men films, both good and bad.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the deal,
There you
though. It's
go.
like, well, she was also in
And
Catwoman, though.
unfortunately, the car falls on top of Scorpio. Dead.
That's all, folks.
Well, to be fair, Spider-Man is trying to say, oh no, I will do on the same things of you, but I feel so
Congratulations,
bad
Spider-Man.
inside.
Scorpion is dead.
Well, that's what he's about to say.
Then how come I feel so bad about it?
Get used to it, Miguel. The time period is not in your favor.
You'd think she'd be able to save Scorpion from dying, too.
Anyway, yeah, so
Yeah, he's
overall,
doing
the
it.
level was pretty much... It dragged way too long, but at least it had good intention at the very basic.
Now, I am
guess.
looking forward to the third one of this, though, because the third
All
is
in
definitely
due-
the best.
All in due time, Jova, we have foreshadowed this quite enough. For now, we need to proceed in the next part to the last of the second tier level, going back to the Noir universe against one of the people who was responsible for Uncle Ben's Noir Uncle Ben's daughter, Vulture. So unfortunately, Dweebs that he's not played by Michael Keaton. So
Now, here's the deal, though. I will give you one more warning, though. The character involved in the third level of 20 and 99, let's just say she has a lot to do with the Clone Saga. So, yeah.
Again, in due time.
Yeah.
So see you for that.
Ta-ta.
So, yeah.
Chat.